Hello and welcome back to Brendan Moyer's Playwright Corner, where I read plays, poems, or whatever's currently striking my fancy at the moment. Today we're going to be reading another one of August Strindberg plays entitled Crime and Crime, a comedy in 4 acts written in 1899. The characters are Maurice, a playwright, Jeanne, his mistress, Marion, their daughter, aged 5, Emile, Jeanne's brother, a workman, Adolphe, an artist, Henriette, his mistress, Madame Catherine, proprietress of the creamerie, the abbe, a keeper in the cemetery, the woman in the cemetery, non-speaking, the commissaire, first detective, second detective, the head waiter, non-speaking, a waiter, a keeper in the Luxembourg Gardens, and a servant girl. The whole action of the play takes place in Paris in the 90s. Act 1. Scene 1. Scene: the upper end of the Cypress Avenue in the cemetery at Montparnasse. Seen in the background are burial chapels and stone crosses bearing the inscription O Crux, Ave Spes Unica. Also, the ivy-clad ruin of a windmill. A well-dressed woman in mourning is kneeling beside a flower-decked grave, murmuring prayers. Jeanne is walking to and fro, as if expecting somebody. Marion is playing with some withered flowers she has picked up from a rubbish heap on the path. The abbe is walking at the far end of the avenue, reading his breviary. The keeper enters. Keeper to Jeanne. Look here, this isn't a playground. Jeanne, meekly. I'm only waiting for someone who's bound to be here soon. That as it may be, but no one's allowed to take any flowers. Jeanne to Marion. Put the flowers down, dear. The abbe approaches and is saluted by the keeper. Abbe. But keeper, surely the child may play with these flowers, which have been thrown away. Keeper. The regulations forbid anyone to touch any flowers, even those that have been thrown away. They're supposed to be contagious, whether it's true or not. Abbe to Marion. In that case there is nothing for us to do but obey. What is your name, my little friend? Marion. I'm called Marion. Abbe. And what's your papa's name? Marion bites her fingers and does not answer. The keeper goes out. Abbe to Jeanne. Pardon my question, madam. I did not mean to intrude. I was simply talking to calm the little girl. Jeanne. I realized that at once, Reverend Father. And I was wishing you would say something to calm me too, for I am very troubled after waiting here for 2 whole hours. 2 hours? For him? How human beings can torture one another. Oh, Crux. Ave Spes Unica. Yes, what do they mean, those words which are written all over this place? Abbe. They mean, O Cross, our only hope. Is it our only one? Our only sure one. I shall believe that you are right, Father. May I ask why? You've already guessed. When a man keeps a woman and child waiting for 2 hours in the cemetery, the end is not far off. And when he does abandon you, what then? The river. Oh, no. Yes. Marion. I want to go home, Mama. I'm hungry. Be patient just a little longer, my darling, and then we will go. Woe upon them who call evil good and good evil. Jeanne. What is that woman doing at that grave? She appears to be talking to the dead. But can you do that? She seems to be able to. Jeanne. Won't there be an end to the misery even when this is over? Abbe. Do you not know that? Where can you find out? Next time you feel you need some enlightenment on this well-known question, come and find me in the chapel of Our Lady in the Church of Saint-Germain. Looking off. Here comes surely the one you were expecting. Jeanne, embarrassed. It's not him. But I know this one too. Abbe to Marion. Goodbye, little Marion. May God keep you. To Jeanne. In Saint-Germain-des-Prés. Exit the abbe. Enter Emile. Emile. Why, sister, what are you doing here? Waiting for Maurice. And you'll have to wait a long time, for I saw him lunching on the boulevard with some friends an hour ago. How's dear little Marion? Kisses the child. Jeanne. Were there women with him? Yes, of course. But that doesn't mean anything. He writes plays and his new one's opening tonight. They were probably just some of his actresses. Did he recognize you? No. He doesn't know who I am, and there's no reason why he should. I know my place as a workman, and I don't want any favors from those above me. But suppose he leaves us high and dry. Now, look. When that happens, it will be time enough for me to introduce myself. But surely you don't expect anything of the kind, because he really thinks the world of you. And above all, he is set on the child. Jeanne. I don't know. I just feel something frightful is going to happen to me. Emile. Has he promised to marry you? No, he hasn't promised. But he's led me to hope. Hope, eh? Don't you remember what I said to you at the start? Don't hope. For those on top don't marry beneath them. But it does happen. Of course it does. But would you be happy in his set? I bet you wouldn't. You wouldn't even understand what they were talking about. I eat there sometimes, in the kitchen at the place he has his meals, and I can't make out a word they say. Really? You eat there? Yes, in the kitchen. To think he's never invited me there. You can give him credit for that. It shows he has some respect for Marion's mother. For the ladies who go there are, a queer lot. Oh. But Maurice doesn't bother with the ladies. No, there's something straight about that chap. I think so too. But when a woman comes along, men lose their heads. Emile, smiling. You're telling me. But listen, are you short of money? No, not that. Then all's well so far. Look, over there down the avenue. There he comes. And I'll be on my way. Is he coming? Yes, it is him. Emile, going. Now don't drive him crazy with your jealousy, Jeanne. Of course I won't. Exit Emile. Enter Maurice. Marion runs up to him and he catches her up in his arms. Marion. Papa! Papa! Maurice. My pet, my darling. Turning to Jeanne. Jeanne, can you forgive me for keeping you waiting so long? Can you? Of course I can. But say it so that I can hear that you forgive me. Come here and I'll whisper it to you. Maurice comes close to her. Jeanne kisses him on the cheek. I didn't hear. Jeanne kisses him on the mouth. I heard then. Well, I suppose you know this is the day on which my fate will be decided. My play is to be presented and has every chance of success. Or failure. I'll pray for you. Then you'll have a success. Thank you. Even if that doesn't help, it can't do any harm. Look down there in the valley. In the sun haze. There lies Paris. Today Paris doesn't know who Maurice is. But within 24 hours it will know. The cloud of smoke which has hidden me for 30 years will disperse as I blow upon it, and I shall be seen. I shall take shape and begin to be somebody. My enemies, that's to say, all those who wish they could do what I have done, will writhe with pain, and that will give me pleasure, to see them suffering what I have suffered. Don't talk like that, don't. But that's how it is. Yes, but don't talk about it. And then? Then we'll be in clover, and you and Marion will bear the name I have made famous. You do love me, then? I love you both, one as much as the other. Or Marion even a little bit more. I'm glad of that, for you may tire of me, but not of her. Why, you don't trust my feelings for you. I don't know. I'm afraid of something terrible. You're tired and depressed by this long wait. Once more, please forgive me. But what have you to be afraid of? The unknown? That you can have a presentiment about without a real reason? Well, the only presentiment I have is success. And with real reasons. The sure instincts of theatre folk and their experience of the public, not to mention their personal acquaintance with the critics. So now you must be calm. I can't. Do you know, there was an abbot here just now who talked so kindly to us. You haven't wiped out my faith, but you have smeared over it like when you whitened windows, so I couldn't get at it. But this old man, he passed his hand over the chalk and the light came through, and you could see again that the family was at home inside. I shall pray for you this evening in Saint Germain. Maurice. Now it is I who am frightened. Fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. God. What is that? Who is he? He who gave you joy to your youth and strength to your manhood. It is he who will support us in the terrors that lie ahead. What lies ahead? What do you know? Where have you learnt this? This that I don't know. I can't tell. I haven't dreamt anything, seen anything, heard anything, but during these 2 dreadful hours I have lived through such an eternity of pain that I am ready for the very worst. Marion. I want to go home now, Mama. I'm hungry. Maurice. You shall go home, my darling. Hugs her. Marion, whimpering. Oh, you hurt me, Papa. Jeanne. We must get home to dinner. So goodbye, Maurice. And good luck. Maurice to Marion. How could I hurt you? You know I only want to be kind to my little girl. Marion. Come home with us then if you're kind. Maurice to Jeanne. You know, when I hear the child talk like that, I feel I ought to do as she says. But then, reason and duty step in. Goodbye, little daughter. He kisses the child, who puts her arms round his neck. Jeanne. When do we meet again? Maurice. Tomorrow, my dear, we shall meet. And never more to part. Jeanne embraces him. Never more to part. She makes the sign of the cross on his forehead. May God keep you. Maurice, moved in spite of himself. My own beloved Jeanne. Jeanne and Marion move right. Maurice moves left. Both turn at the same moment and kiss hands to one another. Maurice, turning back. Jeanne, I'm ashamed of myself. I'm always forgetting you, and you are the last to remind me. Here is your ticket for tonight. Thank you, my dear, but you must be at your post alone. And I shall be at mine. With Marion. Maurice. Your wisdom is as great as your goodness of heart. No other woman would sacrifice a pleasure in order to do her man a service. I need to be quite free tonight. And a man doesn't take his wife and children to the battlefield with him. This you understood. Maurice, don't think too highly of a simple woman like me. Then you won't have to lose your illusions. And now you will see I'm as forgetful as you were. Here is a tie and a pair of gloves I've bought you. I thought you might do me the honor of wearing them on your great day. Maurice, kissing her hand. Thank you, my love. And then, Maurice, don't forget, as you so often do, to go to the barber. I want you to look handsome, so that others will like you too. You aren't jealous at all, are you? Don't use that word. It rouses bad thoughts. Do you know? At this moment I could forgo tonight's victory. Yes, it will be a victory. Hush, 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 and come home with you. But you mustn't. Go. Your fate is waiting for you. Goodbye, then. And let come what may. Exit Maurice. Jeanne, alone with Marion. O crux, ave spes unica. Scene 2. Scene. The cremerie. The same afternoon. Right, a buffet in which stands an aquarium containing goldfish, a palm, vegetables, fruits, preserves, etc. Back, a door to the kitchen, where workers are gathered, with a further door to the garden. Left, a raised counter and shelves holding many kinds of bottles. Down right, one long marble-topped table against the wall, and another parallel with it, nearer in. Wicker chairs stand beside the tables, and the walls are covered with paintings. Madame Catherine is sitting at the counter. Maurice is leaning against the counter with his hat on, smoking a cigarette. Madame Catherine. So tonight the balloon goes up for you, Monsieur Maurice? Yes, tonight. Are you nervous? Cool as a cucumber. Well, I wish you luck. You deserve it, Monsieur Maurice, after fighting difficulties such as yours. Thank you, Madame Catherine. You've been very kind to me. Without your help by now, I'd be down and out. We won't talk about that now. Where I see hard work and the will to get on, I help. Though, mind you, I don't like to be exploited. Can we trust you to come back here when the play is over, and let us drink a glass of wine with you? Of course you can trust me. I've always given you my promise. Enter Henriette, right. Maurice turns, raises his hat, and gazes at Henriette, who regards him appraisingly. Henriette, to Madame Catherine. Isn't Monsieur Adolphe here? No, madame. But he will be here soon. Please take a seat. Thank you. But I would prefer to wait for him outside. Exit Henriette. Maurice. Who was that? That was Monsieur Adolphe's lady friend. Was that she? Haven't you ever seen her before? No. He's been hiding her from me, just as if he were afraid I would take her from him. Well, what do you think of her looks? Her looks? Let me see. I don't know. I didn't see her, for it was as if she had flown straight into my arms. She came so close that I had no view, and she left her impression on the air. I can still see her standing there. He goes towards the door, and mimes putting his arm round someone's waist. Mimes having pricked his finger. She is one of the kind that stings. Madame Catherine smiling. You and your ladies. You're crazy. Yes, I'm crazy. But I tell you what, Madame Catherine. I'm going to leave before she comes back. For if I don't, oh, she is a terrible woman. Are you scared? Yes. I'm scared for myself. And scared for some others. Well then, go. Listen. When she drifted out of that door, it made a little whirlwind which sucked me in too. You may laugh, but look at that palm on the buffet is still trembling. She is a devil of a woman. Well then, go, my dear man, before you're stark staring mad. I want to go, but I can't. Do you believe in destiny, Madame Catherine? No. I believe in the good God, who protects us from evil powers if we ask him nicely. So anyway, there are evil powers. Isn't it them I hear in the entrance now? It certainly is. She wrestles so much it's like the diaper tearing off a length of material. Go on. Get out through the kitchen. Maurice dashes to the kitchen door and collides with Emile coming out. Emile, 1,000 pardons, backs into the kitchen, shutting the door. Enter Adolphe, followed by Henriette. Adolphe. Why, there's Maurice. Good day to you. Let me introduce you, my dear friend, Mademoiselle Henriette, and my oldest and best friend, Monsieur Maurice. Maurice, bowing stiffly. Enchanted. Henriette. We've seen one another before. Adolphe. Really? But when, if I may ask? Maurice. Just now, in here. Adolphe. Oh, I see. Well, now, you mustn't go until we've had a talk. Madame Catherine signals to Maurice. Maurice. I only wish I had the time. Make time. We're not staying long. Henriette. I won't disturb you, if you gentlemen want to talk business. Maurice. Any business we have is too bad to talk about. Henriette. Then we'll talk about something else. She takes Maurice's hat and hangs it up. Be kind now, and let me make the acquaintance of the great author. Madame Catherine signals to Maurice, but he pays no attention. Adolphe. That's right, Henriette. You take him prisoner. They seat themselves at a table. Henriette to Maurice. You certainly have a good friend in Adolphe, Monsieur Maurice. He never talks about anything but you. So much so that I often feel quite put in the shade. I like that. I must tell you, Maurice, that Henriette doesn't give me a moment's peace about you. She has read everything you have ever written and is always wanting to know where you got this from and where that. She has asked me what you look like, how old you are, what you care about most. In a word, I've had you morning, noon, and night. We've been as good as living together, the three of us. Maurice to Henriette. Good gracious. Why didn't you come here and take a look at this prodigy? Then your curiosity would have been satisfied at once. Henriette. Adolf didn't want me to. Adolf looks embarrassed. Not that he was jealous, of course. Why should he be, when he knew my affections were otherwise engaged? Henriette. He may not have trusted the constancy of your affections. I don't see why not. I'm famous for my fidelity. Adolf. It wasn't that. Henriette, interrupting to Maurice. Perhaps because it's never been put to the test. Adolf. Oh, really, you know... Well, the world has never yet seen a faithful man. Maurice. Then it's going to see one. Henriette. Where? Here. Henriette laughs. Adolf. Well, that sounds... Henriette, interrupting and continuing to address herself to Maurice. Do you think I'd trust my dear Adolf for more than a month or so? Maurice. It's not my business to challenge your lack of confidence, but I'd go bail for Adolf's fidelity. You don't need to do that. My tongue just ran away with me, and I take it back. Not only so I don't feel less high-minded than you, but because it really is so. It's a bad habit of mine to only see the worst. But if I could be with you two for a while longer, I would grow good again in your company. Forgive me, Adolf. She lays her hand against his cheek. Adolf. You always talk so ill and behave so well. What you really think I don't know. Henriette. Who does know that? Maurice. If we had to answer for our thoughts, who would stand a chance? Do you have evil thoughts too? Yes, of course. Just as I do the cruelest things. In dreams. In dreams. Just think, No. I'm ashamed to talk about it. Maurice. Go on. Last night, I dreamt I was coolly dissecting the muscles of Adolf's chest. I'm a sculptor, you know. And he, who is always so sweet, made no resistance, but actually helped me over the difficulties, as he knows more anatomy than I do. Did he seem to be dead? No. He was alive. How horrible! How could you bear to do it? I didn't mind at all. That's what surprised me, because I'm pretty sensitive about other people's feelings. That's true, isn't it, Adolf? Adolf. Absolutely true. Especially where animals are concerned. Maurice. I, on the other hand, am rather indifferent to my own sufferings and those of others. Adolf. Now he's telling lies about himself. Isn't he, Madame Catherine? Monsieur Maurice is kind to the point of folly. Just think, he nearly called the police because I hadn't changed the goldfish's water. Those on the buffet table. Look at them. You'd think they could hear what I'm saying. Maurice. And here we sit, you see, whitewashing ourselves into angels when, by and large, any one of us is capable of committing some polite atrocity where glory, gold, or women are concerned. So, you are a sculptor, Mademoiselle Henriette? Henriette. Bit of a one. Good enough anyhow to do a bust. And to do one of you. That's been my dream for a long time. And I'm sure I could. Maurice. At your service. That dream at least can be realized at once. Henriette. But I don't want to visualize you until after tonight's success, when you first become what you really should be. How certain you are of my victory. Yes, it's written in your face that you're going to win this battle, and you must be feeling that yourself. Why so? Because I feel it. You know, I wasn't well this morning, but now I'm fine again. Adolf begins to look depressed. Maurice, embarrassed. Listen, I have one theater ticket left, but only one. It's at your disposal, Adolf. Thank you, old man, but I surrender it to Henriette. Henriette. Oh, but would that do? Adolf. Why not? And I never go to the theater anyway. I can't stand the heat. Henriette. But you will at least come and fetch me when the play is over. Adolf. If you insist. Or why not come back here with Maurice, where we all shall be waiting for him? Maurice, surely you can take the trouble to come and meet us. I want you to. I beg you to do so. Look here, if you don't want to wait outside the theatre, there's the Auberge des Atres. You can meet us there. Is that settled? Wait a bit. You have a way of settling things to suit yourself before one has time to consider. Maurice, what is there to consider? It's just a matter of escorting your lady or not. You never know what may come out of such a simple matter. I have a sense of foreboding. Henriette, tut. You can't be spooky in broad daylight. Whether he turns up or not, we can always come back here. Adolphe, well, anyway, I must leave you now. I have a model coming. Goodbye. Good luck, Maurice. Tomorrow you will have got there. Do you really have to go? Must. Maurice, goodbye then. See you later. Adolphe salutes Madame Catherine and goes out. Henriette, to think that we should meet at last. Do you find that so remarkable? It's as if we're meant to happen. Though Adolphe has done his best to prevent it. Has he? Surely you noticed that. I did notice. So why should you mention it? I had to. Well, I don't have to tell you that I meant to escape through the kitchen just now just to avoid meeting you, but was stopped by someone shutting the door in my face. Why talk about that now? Don't know. Madame Catherine upset a number of glasses and bottles. Don't upset yourself, Madame Catherine. There's no danger. Henriette, was that meant as a signal or a warning? Probably both. Am I a locomotive that needs a signalman and switchman? That's the most dangerous part, is the switchover. How wicked you could be. Madame Catherine, Monsieur Maurice is not wicked at all. Up to now, nobody could have been kinder or more loyal to those who belong to him. Or those he's under an obligation to. Hush, hush, hush. Henriette to Maurice, how that old woman pokes her nose in. We can go over to the boulevard if you like. Henriette, by all means. This is no place for me. I feel hatred clawing at me. Henriette goes out. Maurice begins to follow her. Maurice, goodbye, Madame Catherine. One moment. May I say a word, Monsieur Maurice? What is it? Don't do it. Don't do it. What? Don't do it. Have no fear. This lady is not my kind. She just interests me. Scarcely even that. Don't trust yourself. Yes, I do trust myself. Goodbye. Maurice goes out. Act 2, Scene 1. Scene, the Auberge des Atres. The same night. A cafe in theatrical 17th century style, with alcoves containing tables and chairs. The walls hung with armor and weapons. The shelves along the paneling hold glasses, pitchers, etc. On one side, a fireplace. Maurice and Henriette, in evening dress, sit facing one another at a table, on which stand a bottle of champagne and 3 filled glasses. The third glass is on the far side of the table, and a third chair is placed for the unexpected third person. Maurice puts his watch on the table. Maurice, if he doesn't come in 5 minutes, he won't come at all. Shall we drink meanwhile with his ghost? He touches the third glass with his own. Henriette does likewise. Henriette, your health, Adolphe. He won't come. He will. He won't. He will. What an evening. What a wonderful day. I can't grasp it yet, that a new life has begun. The manager believes I can count on at least 100,000 francs. I shall buy a villa for 20,000 outside the city and shall still have 80,000 left. I shan't be able to take it all in until tomorrow. I'm so tired. Oh, tired. Sinks back in his chair. Have you ever had a real stroke of luck? Never. What does it feel like? Well, I can't really express it. But what I'm chiefly thinking about now is the chagrin of my enemies. It's unpleasant of me, but that's how it is. What's the point of thinking about one's enemies? The conqueror always counts the enemies dead and wounded in order to gauge his victory. Are you as bloodthirsty as that? Not really. But when you've felt other people's heels trampling on your chest for years, it's very pleasant to shake the enemy off and breathe. Don't you find it strange to be sitting here alone with me? An insignificant girl and a stranger to you? On a night like this, when by rights you should be showing yourself as the triumph to all peoples on the boulevards and in the big restaurants. Well, it is a little odd, but I like it here. And your company is all I want. You're not very gay, are you? No. I'm feeling rather sad. I should like to shed a few tears. But why? Success recognizing its own emptiness and anticipating disaster. How sad. How truly sad. What more can you want? One thing that makes life worth living. Then, you no longer love her? No. Not in the way I understand love. Do you imagine she has read my plays or wants to see it? Oh, she's so good, so self-sacrificing and considerate, but she would think it wrong to go out and celebrate like this tonight. You know, I did once treat her to champagne, and instead of being pleased, she picked up the wine list to see what it cost. And when she saw the prices, she cried. Cried because Marion needed new stockings. Beautiful, if you like. Very moving. But what pleasure can one have when that's the way things are? And I want some pleasure before I get any older. So far I've lived in privation, but now, life is beginning for me. A clock strikes 12. Now a new day is beginning. A new era. Adolf's not coming. No, he's not coming. And now it's too late to go to the Crummery. But they are expecting you. Then they must expect. They made me promise to come, and I take my promise back. Do you want to go there? Far from it. Then will you give me the pleasure of your company? Willingly, if you can put up with it. Well, considering I've begged you for it. Strange that the victor's crown should be worthless if you can't lay it at some woman's feet. That everything is worthless if you haven't a woman. Surely you have no need to be without a woman. You. Don't you know that at the moment of success and fame a man is irresistible? No, I don't. I haven't had that experience. You are an extraordinary person. At this moment, when you're the most envied man in Paris, you just sit here brooding. Perhaps you have a bad conscience because you've neglected the invitation to drink chicory coffee with that old woman in the milk shop. During the following dialogue, somebody in the adjacent room begins to play the finale of Beethoven's Piano Sonata in D major, Opus 31, number 3. The final allegretto is played softly at first, but growing louder and more passionate until it ends in complete abandon. Maurice. Yes, my conscience does prick me on that score. And even here I can sense their resentment, their wounded feelings, their justifiable indignation. My comrades in distress have the right to demand my presence tonight. The good Madame Catherine has a special stake in my success, which was to have given a glimmer of hope to the poor fellows who haven't had any luck as yet. And I have cheated them of their good faith in me. I can hear them swearing, Maurice will come. He's a good chap, he doesn't look down on us, he won't break his word. Now I've broken my word and theirs. Who could be playing here at this time of night? Some nightbird like us, I suppose. But look, you're not putting the case as it is. Don't forget, Adolf broke his promise to meet us. We have waited and he's broken his promise. So you are not to blame. Is that what you think? I believe you while you're talking, but When you stop, my conscience starts up again. What have you got there? Oh, it's only a laurel wreath. I meant to send it up on stage, but I didn't get the chance. Let me give it to you now. It's supposed to cool the heated brow. She rises, places the wreath on his head, and kisses his forehead. Hail, Victor! No, don't. Henriette, kneeling. Hail, King! Maurice, rising and taking up the wreath. Don't. It frightens me. How timid you are. So timid you're even scared of good fortune. Who took away your self-esteem and turned you into a dwarf? Dwarf? Yes, you're right. I don't work up in the clouds like a giant, crashing and booming, but forge my sword down in the silent heart of the mountain. You think my modesty shrinks from the victor's wreath? No. I despise it because it's too slight for me. You think I fear the ghost sitting there with the green eyes of jealousy keeping a watch on my feelings, of whose strength you have no notion? Away with you, ghost! He sweeps the third, untasted glass of champagne off the table. Away, you unwanted third! You absent one who have lost your rights if you ever had any. You shunned the field of battle because you knew yourself already beaten. So, as I crush this glass beneath my foot, I will crush to pieces the image you set up for yourself in a little temple which shall never again be yours. Henriette. Bravo. That's how it will be. Bravo, my hero. Now I have sacrificed my best friend, my most faithful supporter on your altar, Astarte. Are you satisfied? Astarte. That's a beautiful name. And I shall keep it. You must be in love with me, Maurice. Naturally. Femme fatale, who scents the victim and rouses man's passion. Where have you come from and where will you lead me? When they spoke of you, I trembled. And when I saw you in the doorway, your spirit flew into mine. When you went away, you were still there in my arms. I wanted to flee from you, but something stopped me. And tonight we are driven together like quarry in the hunter's net. Who is to blame? Your friend, who played pander for us. Henriette. Blame or no blame, what's that got to do with it? What does it mean? Adolf is to blame because he didn't bring us together before. He is guilty of the crime of robbing us 2 weeks' life of bliss, to which he had no right. I am jealous of him on your behalf. I hate him for cheating you out of true love. I should like to blot him out of the numbers of the living in his memory too, to obliterate him from the past and make him unmade, unborn. Maurice, and we will bury him under our own memories. We will peg him down in the depths of the forest and pile stones over him so that he can never raise his head again. Raises his glass. Our fate is sealed. Woe betide us! What is to happen now? Now a new era will begin. What's in that packet? I don't remember. Henriette opens the packet and brings out a tie and a pair of gloves. What a frightful tie! It must have cost quite 50 centimes. Maurice snatches the things from her. Don't touch those! Are they from her? Yes, they are. Give them to me. No. She's better than us. Better than us all. I don't believe it. She's just simpler and stingier. A woman who cries because there's champagne when there aren't stockings for her child, yes. Yes, she's good. You bourgeois. You'll never be an artist. But I am an artist. And I shall make a bust of you with a shopkeeper's cap instead of a laurel wreath. She called Jeanne? Yes. How do you know? That's what all housekeepers are called. Henriette! Henriette picks up the gloves and the tie and throws them into the fireplace. Maurice, weakly. Astarte. Now you're demanding the sacrifice of women. That you shall have. But if it's to be innocent children, then you must go. Do you know what it is that binds you to me? If I knew, I would tear myself away. But I believe it is your evil qualities which I need. I believe it is the vice in you which attracts me with the irresistible pleasure of the new. Henriette, haven't you ever committed a crime? No, not a real one. Have you? Yes. Well, what was that like? It outweighed doing any good deed, for that only puts you on a level with others. It outweighed performing any feat, because that puts you above others and is rewarded. This crime put me outside, on the other side of life and society and my fellow beings. Since that time, I have only been living a half-life, a dream life, so reality no longer has any meaning for me. What did you do? I won't tell you. You'd be afraid again. Can you never be found out? Never. But that doesn't stop me from often seeing the 5 stones in the Place de Roquette, where the scaffold used to stand. And that's why I never touch cards, for the 5 of diamond always comes up. Was it that kind of crime? Yes, that kind. That's pretty horrible. But it's interesting. Have you never had a conscience? Never. But if we might talk about something else, I should be grateful. What shall we talk about? Love? You don't want to talk about that until it's over. Were you in love with Adolf? I don't know. The purity of his nature attracted me like some beautiful forgotten memory of childhood. But there was a great deal about his person that offended my eye. It took me a long time to erase, change, and add to and take from, so as to make a passable figure from him. When he talked, I could tell he learnt his views from you, and they were often half understood and clumsily applied. So you can imagine how poor the copy appears now that I can see the original. That's why he was scared of letting us two meet. And when it did happen, he knew at once his time was up. Poor Adolf. I'm sorry for him too. He must be suffering torments. Hush! Someone's coming. Suppose it is he. That would be intolerable. It isn't he. But if it had been, what do you think would have happened? During the following dialogue, the pianist in the adjacent room practices the D major sonata, sometimes pianissimo, sometimes wildly fortissimo. At times there is a silence. At others, only bars 96 through 107 on the finale are heard. Maurice. At first he would have been rather cross with you, because he had made a mistake about the cafe. Looked for us in vain in the wrong place, but his arrogance would have soon given way to pleasure at seeing us, at seeing that we hadn't deceived him. And in his joy at finding he had wronged us by his suspicions, he would have loved us both, and so been delighted to find out that we were such good friends. It has always been his dream, this is him speaking now, his dream that the 3 of us would make a trio and show the world a fine example of friendship making no demands. Yes, I trust you, Maurice, particularly because you are my friend, partly because your affections are engaged elsewhere. Bravo. Have you been in such a situation before that you were able to reproduce it so exactly? You know, Adolf is just the kind that has to be a third, who can't enjoy his girl unless he has a friend along. That is why I was called upon to entertain you. Hush, there's someone outside. It is he. No, these are the hours when ghosts walk, you know, and when one hears so many things, and sees them sometimes too. To be awake at night when one should be sleeping, has the same charm for me as crime. One has set oneself above and beyond the laws of nature. But the penalty is heavy. I am shivering or trembling, whichever it is. Henriette takes her opera cloak and puts it round him. Have this round you. That will warm you. It's beautiful. It's as if I were inside your skin, as if my vigil-worn body were recast in your form. I can feel it being molded. But I am getting a new soul too. New thoughts, and here, my own breast is feeling the curve which yours has left. The music interrupts his thoughts. What a monster to sit there all night practicing the piano. I'm sick of it. I'll tell you what. We will drive out to the Bois de Boulogne and have breakfast in the pavilion and watch the sun rise over the lake. Good. But first, I must send a note home, so that my mail and the morning papers and the rest are sent out by messenger to the breakfast place. Listen, Henriette. Shall we invite Adolphe? Yes. It's too crazy, but why not? The ass can surely be harnessed by the triumphal chariot. Let him come. They rise. Maurice removes the cloak. Then I'll ring. Wait a moment. She throws herself into his arms. Scene 2. Scene: the Bois de Boulogne. Dawn. A large, magnificently furnished room of a restaurant, with rugs and mirrors, chaise lounges, and divans. Back, French windows, outlooking the water. Center, a table spread with flowers, bowls of fruit, decanters of wine, oyster platters, many kinds of wine glasses, and 2 lighted candelabra. Right, a low table with newspapers and telegrams. Maurice and Henriette are sitting opposite one another at this table. The sun is rising. There's no longer any doubt. The press says it is so, and these telegrams congratulate me on my success. This is a new life beginning. And my life is wedded to yours through this night, in which you alone have shared my hopes and my triumphs. It was from your hand I received my laurels, and I feel everything has come to me from you. Henriette, what a wonderful night. Have we dreamt it, or have we really lived it? Maurice, rising. And what a dawn for such a night. I feel as if it were the world's first day now being lighted by the rising sun. The earth has just been created and spun itself free of those white membranes now floating away. There lies the Garden of Eden in the rosy light of dawn. And here is the first pair of human beings. Do you know, I am so happy I could weep to think that the whole of mankind is not as happy as I am. Listen to that distant murmur. Like waves on a pebbly beach, like the wind in the woods. Do you know what that is? It is Paris whispering my name. Do you see the smoke spiraling up in the sky in thousands of tens of thousands? That is Paris whispering my name. Those are my altar fires, or if they aren't, they shall be, for I will it to be so. At this very moment, every telegraph in Europe is tapping out my name. The Oriental Express is carrying the news to the far east into the rising sun, and the ocean liners to the furthest west. The earth is mine, and so it is beautiful. Now I wish for wings for both of us, so that we can take flight far, far away before anyone can spoil my happiness, before envy wakes me from my dream, because this probably is a dream. Henriette, giving him her hand. Feel. You are not dreaming. It is not a dream. Yet it has been one. You know, when a penniless young man used to walk down there in the woods and look up at the pavilion, I saw it as an enchanted castle. And I always imagined myself up in this room with its balcony and its rich curtains, a place of pure bliss. To be here with a beloved woman, watching the sun rise with the candles still alight, was the most audacious dream of my youth. Now it has come true. And now I have no more to ask of life. Would you like to die? Now, with me? No, you idiot. Now I want to begin to live. To live is to suffer. Now comes reality. I hear his footsteps on the stairs. He is panting with anxiety. His heart is pounding with the dread of having lost the most precious thing of all. Believe me, Adolf is under this roof. In one moment he will be standing here in this room. Henriette, uneasily. It was a stupid idea to invite him here, and I already regret it. Well, at least we shall see if your forecast was right. Of course, one can easily be mistaken about a person's feelings. The head waiter enters and hands him a card. Ask the gentleman to come in. Exit the head waiter. I'm afraid we shall regret it. Too late to think of that. Hush. Enter Adolf, white and hollow-eyed. Maurice, trying to speak naturally. So you are here. Wherever did you get to last night? Adolf, I went to join you at the Hotel Deseret and waited a whole hour. Maurice, but you went to the wrong place. We waited a couple of hours for you at the Auberge des Atres, and are still waiting, as you see. Adolf, relieved. Thank God. Henriette. Good morning, my dear. You are a gloomy bird, always expecting the worst. I suppose you imagined we were trying to avoid your company. And although you know we sent for you, you still think yourself de trop. Adolf. Accept my apologies. I was wrong, but the night was frightful. They sit down. Embarrassed silence. Henriette, to Adolf. Well, aren't you going to congratulate Maurice on his great success? Oh, yes, you've had a real success. That envy itself can't deny. Everybody is at your feet. You make me feel quite small. Maurice, what nonsense. Henriette, pour Adolf a glass of wine. Adolf, thank you, not for me, nothing. Henriette, to Adolf. What's the matter? Are you ill? No, but I feel I may be. Your eyes. What about 'em? Maurice, how was it at the Crémerie last night? I suppose they're offended with me. Adolf, no one's offended with you, but your absence cast a gloom that was painful to see. But no one was offended, I assure you. Your understanding friends regarded you in your absence with sympathy and tolerance. Madame Catherine herself took on your defense and proposed your health. We all rejoiced in your success if it had been our own. Henriette, but what nice people. What good friends you have, Maurice. Yes. Better than I deserve. Henriette, no one has better friends than he deserves. And you are blessed in your friends. Can't you feel how the very air is softening for you today by the streams of pure good wishes reaching you from 1,000 hearts? Maurice rises to conceal his emotion. Adolf, from 1,000 hearts which you have set free from the nightmare which had oppressed them all of their lives. Human nature has been slandered, and you have redeemed it. So people are grateful to you. Today they lift their heads again, saying, See, we are better than our reputations. And the thought makes them better. Henriette tries to hide her emotion. Am I bothering you? Let me just warm myself for a moment in your sunshine, Maurice. Then I will go. Maurice, why should you go when you have only just come? Why? Because I have seen what I need never have seen. Because I know that my time is over. That you sent for me I take as a sign of consideration, an acknowledgement of what has happened. You know, Maurice, how well I think of human nature. And it's you who taught me to, Maurice. But my friend, just now I went into the church of Saint-Germain, and there I saw a woman and a child. I'm not sorry that you weren't there to see them, because what has happened cannot be changed. But if you had given them a thought or a word before you set them adrift on the open seas of the great city, then you might enjoy your good fortune in peace. And now I bid you goodbye. Henriette, where are you going? You asked that! Do you want me to tell you? No, I don't. Then goodbye. Exit Adolf. Maurice. The fall. And lo, they knew that they were naked. Henriette. How different this scene was from the one we imagined. He is better than we are. I feel now everyone is better than we are. Do you see? The sun has gone behind the clouds, and the wood has lost its rosy tint. I do see. And the blue water is black. Let us flee to where the sky is always clear and the trees are always green. Yes, let's do that. But without farewells. No. With farewells. We should fly. You offered me wings, but your feet are of lead. I am not jealous, but if you do go say goodbye and find 2 pairs of arms around your neck, you will not be able to break away. You are perfectly right. Except that only 1 small pair of arms is needed to hold me. It is the child that holds you then, not the woman. It is the child. The child. Another's child. And for that I am to suffer? Why should that child block the path that I must now take? Why indeed? Better if it had never existed. Yes, but it does exist. Like a stone on the road, an immovable boulder which cannot fail to upset the carriage. The triumphal chariot. The ass is driven to its death, but the boulder remains. Confound it. There is nothing to be done. Yes, we must get married. Then our child will make us forget the other one. The other one would kill ours. Kill? What a thing to say. Henriette, changing her tone. Your child will kill our love. No, my dear. Our love will kill everything that stands in its way, but it will not be killed. Henriette picks up a pack of cards from the mantelpiece. Look! The 5 of diamonds. The scaffold. Is it possible that our fates are predestined? That our thoughts are led as if through pipes, the way they must go without our being able to stop them? No, I don't want it to go that way. I don't want to. Do you realize I should go to the scaffold if my crime were discovered? Tell me about your crime. This is the moment. No. I should regret it afterwards, and you would loathe me. No. 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 Have you ever heard that one person can hate a person to death? Well, my father came to be hated by my mother and his children, and he melted away like wax before a fire. Horrible. Let's talk about something else. Above all, let's leave Paris. Here the air is poisoned. Tomorrow your laurels will be withered, the triumph forgotten, and in weeks all eyes will be on another victor. Away from here, to work for new victories. But first of all, Maurice, you must go and embrace your child, and provide for its immediate future. The mother you must not see. Thank you. Your heart does you honor. And you are all the more dear to me when you show the kindness you sometimes hide. And then go to the cremerie, and say goodbye to the old woman and your friends. Leave nothing behind you undone that might weigh on your mind on our journey. I will do everything that should be done. And tonight we will meet at the railway station. Agreed. And so, away from here. En route for the sunshine and the sea. Act 3. Scene 1. Scene: the Crèmerie. Evening of the same day. The gas is lighted. Madame Catherine is sitting beside the buffet. Adolphe at a table. Madame Catherine. Such is life, my dear Monsieur Adolphe. But you young people are always demanding too much, and then coming here and moaning about it. Adolphe. No, it's not like that. I don't reproach anyone, and I'm still fond as ever of both of them. But there's something that makes me rather sick. You see, I was so much attached to Maurice, yes, so much that I wanted him to have everything that would make him happy. But now I've lost him. It hurts me more than the loss of her. I've lost them both, and so my loneliness is doubly painful. But there is something else too which I am not quite clear about. Don't brood so much. Work can find things to do. You can even go to church, for example. What should I do there? Oh, there's so much to see. And then there's the music. That at least is not banal. Possibly not. But I don't belong to the fold because I'm not devout. You see, Madame Catherine, faith is undoubtedly a gift. And one that so far I have not got. Wait then till you do get it. But what is this tale I've heard today? Is it true you have sold a picture in London at a very high price and won the top award? Yes, it's true. But good heavens! And you haven't said a word about it. I'm afraid of good fortune. And anyway, it's almost worthless to me at this moment. I'm afraid, in the way one is of ghosts. It's bad luck to speak of having seen one. You always were a strange fellow. No, madame. But I have seen so much bad luck follow on good, and I have seen how in misfortune one always has true friends, and in success, only false ones. You asked me if I ever went to church, and I didn't give you a straight answer. I did go into St. Germain's this very morning, without quite knowing why. It was as if I went to look for someone to whom I could offer silent thanks. But I didn't find anyone. Then I put a gold coin in the poor box. That's all I got out of my church going. And it was pretty banal. It was something, at least. It was good to think about the poor when you were in luck. It was neither good nor bad. It was just something I did because I couldn't help myself. Something else happened to me in the church, too. I saw Maurice's friend, Jeanne, and his child. Struck down, crushed by his triumphal chariot. It was as if they bore the whole weight of his past misfortunes. Well, my child, how you come to terms with your consciences, I don't know. But that a decent person, a kindly, conscientious man like Monsieur Maurice, can throw over a woman and a child in the twinkling of an eye. Explain that to me. I can't explain it. And he doesn't seem to understand it himself. I saw them this morning, and it all seemed to them so natural, so right that they couldn't imagine things otherwise. It was as if they were enjoying the satisfaction of having done some good deed or performed some sacred duty. There are things we can't explain, Madame Catherine, and therefore it is not for us to judge. Besides, surely you saw how it came about. Maurice felt the danger in the air. I had a premonition. I tried to prevent their meeting. It's really as if an intrigue had been woven by some invisible power, as if they had been driven by a trick into one another's arms. I'm certainly disqualified in this case, but I don't hesitate to pronounce the verdict. Not guilty. And now, look. To be able to forgive as you do. That's religion. Good heavens! Am I religious without knowing it? But you see, to let oneself to be driven, or tempted into evil like Monsieur Maurice, that's either weakness or wickedness. And if you feel your strength failing, then you pray for help and you get it. But he didn't do that. He was too stuck up. Who's this coming? Oh, I think it's the Abbe. Adolphe, what does he want here? Enter the Abbe. Abbe. Good evening, madam. Good evening, monsieur. What can we do for you, monsieur l'Abbe? Abbe, has Monsieur Maurice the author been here today? No, not today. There's this play of his on the theatre, and that is probably keeping him busy. Abbe, I have bad news to give him. Bad in many respects. Dare I ask what kind of? Yes, there is no secret about it. His daughter, by Jeanne, born out of wedlock, is dead. Dead? Adolphe, Marion dead? Yes. She died suddenly this morning, without any previous illness. Oh God, who can tell thy ways? The mother's despair calls for Monsieur Maurice's presence, and we must try to find him. And now, a question, in confidence. Was Monsieur Maurice known to be fond of the child, or was he indifferent to her? Did he love little Marion? Monsieur l'Abbé, we all know how he doted upon her. Abbé, I'm glad to hear it. As far as I'm concerned, that doubt is dispelled. Madame Catherine, has there been a doubt? Unfortunately, yes. An evil rumor has been running round the court here that he had abandoned the child and its mother in order to go off with a strange woman. In a few hours, this rumor had developed into definite accusations, and the feeling against him has now reached such a pitch that his life is threatened, and he is being called a murderer. Oh God, what is all this? I will tell you my own view. I am convinced that the man is innocent of this charge, and that the mother is as sure of this as I am. But Monsieur Maurice has appearances against him, and he will not find it easy to clear himself when the police come to interrogate him. Have the police got hold of the matter? Yes. The police have to be prepared to protect him from the evil rumors and the people's anger. I believe the commissaire is on his way here now. Madame Catherine, to Adolphe. You see what happens when a man can't tell the difference between good and evil and flirts with vice. The Lord punishes. Adolphe. Then he is more merciless than man. Abbe, what do you know about this matter? Adolphe. Nothing much more, but I can see how it happened. Abbe. And understand it too? Not yet, perhaps. Let us look more closely at the matter. Here is the commissaire. Enter the commissaire. Commissaire. Messieurs, madame, I must trouble you for a moment with some enquiries about Monsieur Maurice Gerard, who, as you have probably heard, is the object of the hideous rumor which, by the way, I don't believe myself. Madame Catherine. None of us believe it either. Commissaire. That strengthens my own opinion. But for his own sake I must give him a chance to defend himself. Abbe. That is good. And he will surely find justice, hard though it may be. Commissaire. Appearances are terribly against him, and I have seen innocent people mount the scaffold before their innocence was discovered. Listen to what they say at him. The child, Marion, left alone by her mother, was secretly visited by the father, who seems to have chosen the hour when the child would be alone. A quarter of an hour after the visit, the mother returned and found the child dead. This is a serious situation for the accused. The post-mortem shows no signs of violence, nor any trace of poison, but the doctors affirm that there are newly discovered poisons which leave no trace. To me, this visit seems a coincidence, and I am well used to those. But worse was to come. Last night Monsieur Maurice was seen at the Albergue des Autres with a strange lady. The conversation, according to the waiter, turned to crime. The plaster raquette and the scaffold were mentioned, an unusual topic of conversation between lovers of good breeding and position. However, this could have been, and we know from experience that people who are short of sleep and have been drinking a good deal tend to dig up the worst from the depths of their souls. More serious still is the evidence of the head waiter from the champagne breakfast in the Bois de Boulogne this morning. He states that he heard them wishing the life out of a child. The man appears to have said, "Better if it had never existed," to which the woman replied, "Yes, but it does exist." And later in the conversation came these words, "The other one would kill ours," to which the other answer was, "Kill? What a thing to say!" And "Our love will kill everything that stands in its way." And then, the 5 of diamonds, the scaffold, the plaster raquette. All this, you see, is hard to explain away. And so finally, is this foreign journey planned for tonight? These are serious matters. Adolphe. He is lost. Madame Catherine. It is a horrifying story. What is one to believe? Abbe. This is not the work of man. God have mercy on him. Adolphe. He is caught in the net and will never get out. Madame Catherine. Why did he let himself get into it? Adolphe. Are you beginning to suspect him, Madame Catherine? Madame Catherine. Yes. And no. I can no longer have any opinion on the matter. Hasn't one seen angels turn into devils in the twinkling of an eye and then become angels again? Commissaire. It's an extraordinary business. However, we must wait and hear what he has to say. Nobody is condemned unheard. Good evening, messieurs. Good evening, madam. Exit the commissaire. Abbe, this is not the work of man. Adolf, it certainly looks like the work of demons for a man's undoing. Abbe, it is either retribution for hidden sins, or else a fearful test. Enter Jeanne, wearing mourning. Jeanne. Good evening. Excuse my asking, but has Monsieur Maurice been here? No, madame. But he might come at any moment. Then you haven't seen him since... Jeanne. Not since this morning. Please accept my sympathy in your great sorrow. Thank you, madam. Ah, you are here, father. Yes, my child. I thought I might be of some help to you here. And it was fortunate, as I was just able to have a few words with the commissaire just now. The commissaire? He doesn't suspect Maurice too, does he? No, he does not. Nor do any of us here. But appearances are terribly against him. You mean because of that conversation the waiter overheard? That means nothing to me. I've heard the same sort of things before when Maurice had had a few drinks. It's his habit then to speculate on crime and punishment. Besides, it seems to have been the woman he had with him who made the most dangerous remarks. I should like to look that woman in the eyes. Adolf, my dear Jeanne, however much that woman may have unintentionally done you, she has no evil purpose at all. She just followed the dictates of her heart. I know she is good and could look anyone straight in the eye. Jeanne, your judgment in this matter is of great value to me, Adolf, and I believe you. So there is no one I can blame for what has happened but myself. Yes, it is my heedlessness that now has to be punished. She weeps. Abbe, do not reproach yourself unjustly. I know you, and how seriously you took your motherhood. That this responsibility was not sanctioned by the church and civil law is not your fault. No, here we are facing something different. Adolf. What? Abba. Who can say? Enter Henriette in travelling dress. Adolf rises resolutely and goes to meet her. Adolf. You here? Henriette. Yes. Where is Maurice? Do you know? Or don't you? I know everything. Excuse me, Madame Catherine, but I was all ready for the journey and had to come in here for a moment. Henriette and Jeanne stare at one another. Emile is seen in the doorway of the kitchen. Henriette to Jeanne. I ought to say something, but I don't know what because whatever I say will sound crude or mocking. But madam, if I ask you quite simply to believe that I share in your deep sorrow, as much as anybody closer to you does, you must not repulse me. You must not, for I deserve your pity, if not your forbearance. Henriette holds out her hand to Jeanne. Jeanne gazes at her. I believe you now, but in another moment I shall not believe you. Jeanne takes Henriette's hand. Henriette, kissing her hand. Thank you. Jeanne draws back her hand. No, don't. I don't deserve that. Abbe, forgive me, but while we are all gathered here in harmony, so it seems for the moment, won't you shed some light, Mademoiselle Henriette, on the uncertainty and darkness surrounding the main point of this accusation? I ask you, as among friends, to tell us what you meant by what you said about death and crime in the Place de Raquette. We are all convinced that these words had no connection with the death of the child, but it would relieve us to hear what that conversation meant. Will you tell us? I can't tell you. I can't. Adolf, tell us, Henriette. Say the words that will bring peace to us all. I can't. Don't ask me that. Abba, This is not the work of man. To think that this moment had to come. And like this. To Jeanne. Madam, I swear that I am not guilty of your child's death. Is that not enough? Jeanne. It is enough for us. But not for justice. Justice! If you knew how true your words were. Abba, to Henriette. And if you understand what you said just now. Henriette, do you understand it better than I? Yes. Henriette gazes at the Abba. Have no fear. For even if I guess your secret, I will not betray it. For that matter, human justice is not my concern. But divine grace is. Maurice enters hastily in traveling clothes. He does not look at the rest of the company in the foreground, but goes straight to the counter where Madame Catherine is sitting. Maurice. Madame Catherine, you are not angry with me for staying away. Anyway, I have come now to ask you to forgive me before I start south at 8 o'clock tonight. Madame Catherine is too much taken aback to speak. Then you are angry with me. Looks round. What is all this? Is it a dream or isn't it? Yes, I see it is real, but it looks like a wax tableau. There is Jeanne like a statue, all in black, and Henriette like a corpse. What does this mean? Silence. No one answers. Then it means something terrible. But please speak. Adolphe, you're my friend. What is it? Indicates Emile. And there is a detective. Adolphe, coming forward. You know nothing then? Nothing. But I must know. Adolphe. Well then. Marion is dead. Marion? Dead? Yes. She died this morning. Maurice to Jeanne. And that is why you are in mourning. Jeanne, who has done this to us? Jeanne, he who holds life and death in his hand. But I saw her well and rosy this very morning. How did it happen? Who did it? Somebody did this to us. His eyes seek Henriette. Adolphe, don't look for the guilty one here, for it is no one here. Unfortunately, the police have turned their suspicion in a direction where there should be none. Maurice, where is that? Well, you must know that your reckless conversation last night and this morning has placed you in a light that is anything but favorable. Were they listening to us? Let me think what it was that we said. It's true. Yes, then I am lost. But explain your thoughtless words, and we will believe you. Maurice, I can't. I will not. I shall be sent to prison, but that's nothing. Marion is dead. Dead, and I have killed her. General consternation. Adolphe, think what you are saying. Weigh your words. Do you realize what you said? Maurice, what did I say? You said that you had killed Marion. Could anyone believe that I am a murderer and could kill my own child? Madame Catherine, you who know me, tell me, do you believe it? Do you believe it? I don't any longer know what I believe. What's in the heart, the tongue will speak, and you have spoken evil words. She does not believe me. Well, but explain yourself. Explain what you meant by your love would kill everything that stood in its way. Maurice, I see. They know that too. Henriette, will you explain that? Henriette, I can't do that. Abba, yes. There is something wrong behind all this. And you have lost our sympathy, my friends. Just now I would have sworn that you were innocent, but I cannot do that now. Maurice to Jeanne. What you say means more to me than anything else. Jeanne, coldly. First answer this question. Who was it you cursed during that orgy out in the bois? Maurice. Did I do that? Perhaps. Yes, I am guilty, and at the same time guiltless. Let me go away from here, for I am ashamed and my misdeeds are greater than I can forgive myself. Henriette, to Adolf, go with him, or he will do himself harm. I? Who else? Adolf, without bitterness. You were nearest. Hush! There's a carriage. Madame Catherine, it's the commissaire. I have seen a great deal of life, but never would I have believed that success and fame were such brittle things. Maurice, to Henriette, from the triumphal chariot to the police van. Jeanne, simply. And the ass drawing it. Who was that? Adolf, that was clearly me. Enter the commissaire with papers in his hands. A summons to appear at the prefecture immediately this evening for Monsieur Maurice Gerard and Mademoiselle Henriette Mauclair. Present? Maurice, is this an arrest? Commissaire, no, not yet. This is only a summons to attend in person. Maurice, and after that? One does not know. Maurice and Henriette moved towards the door. Maurice, goodbye to you all. Everyone shows emotion. The commissaire, Maurice, and Henriette go out. Emile enters and goes up to Jeanne. Emile, now, my dear sister, I will see you home. Jeanne, and what do you think about all this? The man is innocent. Abba, but in my view it is and always will be despicable to break one's promise, and unpardonable where a woman and child are concerned. Emile, I should certainly be inclined to feel the same as you now, as this concerns my sister, but I am unfortunately prevented from casting the first stone, because I have committed the same offence myself. Abba, although I am innocent in this respect, I still cast no stones, but the act condemns itself and is punished by its consequences. Jeanne, pray for him, for them. Abba, no, that I shall not do, for it is presumptuous to wish to change the counsels of the Lord, and what has happened is surely not the work of man. Scene 2. Scene, the Auberge des Atres. Evening of the following day. Adolf and Henriette are sitting at table where Maurice and Henriette sat in Act 2, Scene 1. Adolf has a cup of coffee in front of him. Henriette, nothing. Adolf, you really believe he will come here? Henriette, without any doubt. He was released this morning for lack of evidence, but he did not want to show himself outside until dusk. Adolf, poor fellow. You know, life has seemed quite horrible to me since yesterday. And what about me? I'm afraid to live, scarcely dare breathe, scarcely dare even think, as I know someone is spying not only on my words, but on my thoughts. Adolf, so you were here that night when I couldn't find you. Yes, but don't speak of it. I could die of shame when I think of it. Adolf, you are made of other and better stuff than he and I. No. Yes. And what persuaded me to stay? I was lazy. I was tired. His success bewitched me. I can't explain it, but if you had come, it would never have happened. And today you are the great one and he the little. Least of the least. Yesterday he had 100,000 francs, and today he is penniless, and his play has been withdrawn. He will never be cleared in public opinion, for it will condemn him for his infidelity as severely as if he were the murderer. Anyhow, the most considered option is that the child died from sorrow. So he was the cause of its death. Adolf, Henriette, you know my opinion, but I should like to be sure that you are both completely innocent. Won't you tell me what your terrible words meant? It can't have been just some idle chatter on such a festive occasion to talk so much of killing and the scaffold. It wasn't idle chatter. It was something that had to be said and something I couldn't talk about. But I have no right to appear innocent in your eyes, for I am not innocent. I don't understand. Then let's talk about something else. Has it ever occurred to you that there are many unpunished criminals at large, even among our intimate friends?
How so? What do you mean?
Don't you think everyone at some time in his life does something that would be against the law if it were found out?
Yes, I think that is so. But no misdeed remains unpunished, at least by conscience.
He rises and unbuttons his coat.
And nobody is a really good human being who has not erred. For to know how to forgive, one must have needed forgiveness oneself. I once had a friend whom we called a saint. He never spoke an ill word about anyone, forgave everything and everybody, and received insults with an extraordinary kind of satisfaction which we couldn't explain. At last, late in life, he told me his secret in a word. I am penitent.
He sits down. Henriette regards him silently in surprise. Adolf continues as if to himself.
There are crimes not mentioned in the criminal code, and they are the worst ones. For we have to punish them ourselves, and no judge is so severe as oneself.
Well, this friend of yours, did he find peace?
After years of self-torture, he attained a certain degree of peace, but life never held any pleasure for him. He dared not accept any mark of distinction, and never felt he deserved a kind word or well-earned praise. In a word, he could never forgive himself.
Never. What had he done?
He wished the life out of his father. And when the father suddenly died, the son imagined he had killed him. These imaginings were taken as symptoms of sickness, and he was put into a home, from which after a while he emerged cured, as they say. But he still had his sense of guilt, and so he continued to punish himself for his evil thoughts.
Are you sure an evil will cannot kill?
In a mystic way, you mean?
If you like. Let's call it mystic. In my family, I am sure that my mother and we, brothers and sisters, killed my father out of our hatred. You see, he had a terrible way of systematically opposing all our likes and desires. And where he found any real vocation, he tried to uproot it. And so he roused an opposition that became charged with hatred. And in the end it grew so powerful that he pined away, was neutralized, lost his willpower, and finally wished himself dead.
And your conscience has never reproached you?
No. For that matter, I don't know what conscience is.
Don't you? Well, you will know soon.
How do you think Maurice will look when he walks in here? What do you think he will say? Do you know, yesterday while we were waiting for you, he and I tried to make the same sort of guesses about you. We guessed completely wrong.
Can you tell me why you sent me that message?
Malice? Recklessness? Sheer cruelty.
Strange. The way you recognize your misdeeds but don't repent them.
It's surely because I don't feel fully responsible for them. They're like the dirt left by all things one handles during the day and that one washes off at night. But tell me something. Do you really think as highly of human nature as you profess to?
Well, we are a little better than our reputation. And a little worse.
That's not a direct answer.
No, it's not. But will you give me a direct answer when I ask you? Do you still love Maurice?
I don't know until I see him. But at this very moment I feel no longing for him. And I think I could live very well without him.
I think that's quite likely. But you are chained now to his fate.
Hush, here he comes. How everything repeats itself. Just the same situation and the same words as yesterday, when it was you who were expected. Maurice enters, white as death, hollow-eyed, unshaven.
Maurice. Here I am, dear friends. If this be me. For last night in the cell has changed me into another person.
Gazes at Henriette and Adolf. Adolf. Sit down, and pull yourself together. Then we can talk things over. Maurice to Henriette. Perhaps I am de trop. Adolf. Don't be bitter towards us. Maurice. I have grown evil in these 24 hours. And so suspicious that I shall soon have to go my way alone. Anyhow, who wants to keep a murderer company? Henriette. Surely you've been cleared. Maurice, picking up a newspaper. By the police, yes. But not by the public. Here you see the murderer Maurice Gerard, once the playwright, and his mistress, Henriette Mauclair. Henriette. Oh, my mother. My brothers and sisters, Lord Jesus, help us. Do you see? I really do look like a murderer, too. And it's also hinted that I stole my play. So not a trace is left of yesterday's conqueror. And in his place my rival, Octave, appears on the playbill. And it is he who will collect my 100,000 francs. Oh, so long, so long. Such is fortune, such is fame. You were lucky, Adolf, not to have had any success so far. Henriette. Oh, but don't you know? Adolf has had a great success in London and won the top award. Maurice. No, I didn't know. Is that true, Adolf? Perfectly true. But I have refused the award. Henriette, pointedly. That I didn't know. Are you debarred from accepting distinctions, like your friend? My friend? Oh, yes, yes. Maurice, I'm glad of your success. But it makes a gulf between us. I expected that. I'm bound to be as lonely with my success as you are with your adversity. To think that one's good fortune should hurt others. Life is appalling. During the following speech, 2 men in civilian clothes enter unnoticed and sit at the table in the background. Maurice. You say that. And what am I to say? It's as if a black veil has been pulled over my eyes and changed the whole shape and color of life. This room is like yesterday's room, but it is quite different. I recognize you both, it is true, but you have new faces. I'm searching for words because I don't know what to say to you. I have to defend myself, but I can't. And I almost miss my cell, which at least protected me from those curious glances which pierce right through me. The murderer Maurice and his mistress. You don't love me any more than I care for you. Today you are ugly, clumsy, empty, repellent. Adolf, come, pull yourself together. That you have been discharged, cleared of all suspicion, is bound to appear in some evening paper. That will put an end to all the accusations. Your play is certain to be put on again, and at worst you can write a new one. Leave Paris for a year and let the whole thing be forgotten. You who exonerated human nature will be reinstated yourself. Human nature! Adolf, have you lost your faith in its goodness? Yes, if I ever believed in it. Perhaps that was just a mood, a way of thinking at things, a courtesy to wild beasts. If I, who was held to be among the better ones, can be so utterly base, how vile the others must be. Adolf, now I'm going out to buy all the evening papers. Then we shall certainly have a basis for new points of view. Maurice, turning. 2 detectives. That means I am released under surveillance, so as to give myself away by careless talk. Adolf, they aren't detectives. That's just your imagination. I recognize them both. Begins to go. Don't leave me, Adolf. I fear Henriette and I may come to open explanations. Be reasonable, Maurice, and think of your future. Try to calm him, Henriette. I shall be back in a moment. Exit Adolf. Henriette. Maurice, what do you think now about our guilt or guiltlessness? I have not murdered. I only talked a lot of hot air when I was drunk. But it is your crime which walks again, and you have grafted it on me. Is that the tone you're taking? Was it not you who cursed your own child, who wished that it did not exist, and wanted to go away without farewells? And was it not I who begged you to go and see Marion and pay a visit to Madame Catherine's place?
Yes. You are right, forgive me. You were more humane than I, and the guilt is all mine. Forgive me. But at the same time, I am guiltless. Who has tied this net out of which I can never escape? Guilty and guiltless, guiltless and guilty. This is driving me mad. Look. They're sitting over there listening. And no waiter cares to serve us. I shall go and order a cup of tea. Do you want anything? Nothing. Exit Maurice. The first detective approaches Henriette. Detective. Let me look at your papers, young woman. Young woman? How dare you? Dare? I'll teach you, you tart. Whatever do you mean? Prostitutes are under my supervision. Well, yesterday you were here with one man. Today with another. That amounts to prostitution. And unescorted ladies are not served here. So come along, follow me. My escort will be back in a minute. Nice kind of escort. Hardly a protection for a lady. Oh, God. My mother, my brothers and sisters. Don't you realize that I'm of good family? Fine one, I'm sure. But anyway, the evening papers have made you famous. Come along. Where to? Where am I to go? To the bureau, of course. To get a little card, a license which obliges you to have free medical attention. Jesus Christ, this can't be true. Detective taking her arm. Not true, eh? Henriette falling on her knees. Save me! Maurice, help! Hold your tongue! Don't struggle, damn you! Enter Maurice, followed by the waiter. Waiter. Gentlemen of your kind are not served here. Pay and get out and take your tart with you. Maurice desperately searches his pocketbook. Maurice. Henriette, pay for me and let's get away. I haven't a sou on me. Henriette looks in her purse. Waiter. So it's the lady who pays for her Alphonse. Alphonse, do you know what that means? My God. I haven't any money either. Why doesn't Adolphe come back? Detective. What a damned pack of people. Get going. Leave something to security. Women like her usually have their fingers covered with rings. Maurice. Is it possible that we have sunk so low? Henriette pulls off a ring and hands it to the waiter. Henriette. The Abbe was right. This is not the work of man. Maurice. No. It's the work of the devil. But if we leave before Adolphe comes back, he will think that we have deceived him and slipped away. Henriette. That would be in keeping with the rest. Anyhow, it's the river for us now, isn't it? Maurice takes Henriette's hand as they go out. Maurice. The river. Yes. Act 4. Scene 1. Scene. Beside the statue of Adam and Eve in the Luxembourg Gardens late afternoon the following day. The wind is blowing in the trees and stirring leaves, straws, and bits of paper on the ground. Maurice and Henriette are seated on a bench. Henriette. You don't want to die? No, I daren't. I imagine myself freezing in the grave with only a sheet over me and a few shavings underneath. Besides, it seems to me that I still have something left undone, although I don't know what it is. I can guess what it is. Tell me. It is revenge. You, like me, suspected Jeanne and Emile of having set those detectives on me yesterday. Only a woman could think up such a revenge on arrival. Those were my thoughts. But you know my suspicions go even further. It's as if these last days of suffering have sharpened my wits. For instance, can you explain why the waiter at the Albergue des Autres and the head waiter at the Pavilion were not called to give evidence at the hearing? I hadn't thought about it before, but yes, I do know why. They had no evidence to give, because they had not listened to our conversation at all. Then how did the commissaire know what we said? He didn't know, but he figured it out. He guessed and guessed right. Perhaps he has seen a similar case before. Or else he knew from our looks what we had said. There certainly are people who can read the thoughts of others. He found it quite natural that we should call Adolphe, as he was the dupe, the ass.
That appears to be the rule, with the slight exception that he is generally called the idiot. But as there was talk of a chariot, a triumphal chariot, as came more readily to mind. It's simple to find the fourth factor when you know three. To think we let ourselves be so completely taken in. That's due to thinking well of people. That's what one gets for it. But I may tell you that behind this commissaire, who, by the way, must be an unmitigated scoundrel, I suspect there is another. You mean the abbé, who is playing the part of private detective? That's who I mean. That man has to hear so many confessions. And don't forget this. Adolphe told me himself that he had been in Saint-Germain that morning. What did he do there? Told the tale, of course, and bewailed his fate. And then the abbé added 2 and 2 together for the commissaire. Henriette, tell me something. Do you trust Adolphe? I don't trust any human beings any longer. Not even Adolphe? Him least of all. How can I trust an enemy, a man whose mistress I stole? Well, as you said at first, I will give you a few details about our friend. You know, he refused that award from London. Can you think of any reason? No. Well, he considers himself unworthy of it, and he has taken a penitential vow not to receive any distinctions. Is that possible? Why? What has he done? He has committed a crime which is not punishable by law. That's what he told me, in an indirect way. He too. He, the best, the most perfect of men, who never speaks ill of anyone and forgives everything. Yes. So you see, we are no worse than others. Although we are hunted as if by devils night and day. He too. Then human nature has not been slandered. But if he was capable of one crime, then one may expect anything of him. Perhaps it was he who set the police on you yesterday. Now that I come to think of it, it was he who sneaked away from us, when he saw us in the newspaper, and he was lying when he insisted those fellows weren't police. One may expect anything of a lover who has been deceived. Would he be so low? No, it's impossible. Impossible. Why? What did you talk about yesterday before I came? He spoke nothing but good of you. You're lying. Henriette, collecting herself and changing her tone. Listen. There's still one person you haven't suspected at all, and I don't know why. Have you considered Madame Catherine's changing attitude about this? In the end, didn't she say right out that she believed you capable of anything? Yes, she certainly did say that. And that shows what kind of a person she is. Because to think so ill of another without good reason, you must be a complete scoundrel yourself. Henriette stares at him. Silence. To think so ill of another, you must be a complete scoundrel yourself. What do you mean? What I said. Do you mean that I? Yes. That's what I do mean now. Listen. Did you meet anyone but Marion on your visit that morning? Why do you ask? Why do you think? Well, as you appear to know it, yes, I met Jeanne too. Then why did you lie to me? I wanted to spare you. And now you want me to believe someone who has lied to me? No. My dear, now I believe that you have committed that murder. Wait a minute. Now we have reached the point where my thoughts have been heading, but which I resisted for as long as possible. It is remarkable how the thing that lies nearest is the last thing one sees. And what one does not want to believe, one does not believe. Tell me something. Where did you go yesterday morning, after we parted in the Bois? Why? You either were at Adolphe's, which you couldn't have been because he had given you a lesson, or you went to Marion. Now I am convinced that you are the murderer, and I that you are the murderess, because you alone had an interest in the child being out of the way. The stone upsetting the carriage, as you so aptly put it. That was your expression, and the one who had the interest committed the crime. Maurice, we've been running round and round this treadmill, scourging one another. Let us stop now, or else we shall go quite mad. You are that already. Don't you think it's time for us to part before we drive one another insane? Yes, I do think so. Henriette, rising. Then goodbye. 2 men in civilian clothes appear in the background. Henriette turns back to Maurice. There they are again. The dark angels who will drive us from the garden and force us upon each other, as if we were welded together, or as if we were condemned to a long-life marriage. Should we in fact marry, share the same house, and be able to shut the door on the world and perhaps in the end find peace? Shut ourselves in to torture one another to death? Lock ourselves in, each with his ghost as marriage portion? You tormenting me with Adolph's memory and I tormenting you with Jeanne's? And Marian's? Never mention Marian's name again! You know that she is being buried today. Perhaps at this very moment. And you are not there. What does that mean? It means that both Jeanne and the police have warned me of the crowd's fury. Coward too. All the vices. How could you care for me? Because 2 days ago you were a different person, worthy of being loved. And now sunk to such depths. Not that. But you are beginning to flaunt bad qualities which are not your own. But yours. Perhaps. For when you appear worse, I at once feel rather better. It's like going about passing on a certain kind of disease. And you've become coarse too. I noticed that myself. I don't recognize myself since that night in Gaul. They put in one person and let out another. Through that gate that separates us from society. You know, now I feel I am the enemy of mankind. I should like to set fire to the earth and dry up the sea, for nothing less than a world conflagration can wipe out my dishonor. Henriette, I had a letter from my mother today. My mother is the widow of a major and has high-minded, old-fashioned ideas about honor and all that. Would you care to read the letter? No, you wouldn't. Do you realize I am an outcast? My respectable acquaintances won't have anything to do with me. And if I go about alone, the police will take me up. Do you understand now that we must marry? We hate each other. And yet we must marry. That is hell itself. But Henriette, before we join our destinies, you must tell me your secret, so that we are more evenly matched. Very well, I will tell you. I had a friend who got in trouble. You understand me? I wanted to help her, for her future was at stake. And as I was unskilled, she died. That was a rash thing to do, but it was rather noble. So you say now. But next time you are angry, you will reproach me with it. No, I wouldn't do that. But I cannot deny that this shakes my confidence. I'm afraid to be with you. Tell me, is her lover still alive, and does he know you were responsible? He was just as guilty. And suppose his conscience were to awake. That often does happen, and he felt obligated to denounce you. Then you would be lost. I know that very well. And it is this constant dread which drives me to live so fast and furiously, so as not to have time to wake to full consciousness. And now you want me to take my marriage portion of your dread. That is asking too much. Henriette, but since I have shared the dishonor of Maurice, the murderer, let's put an end to... No, this is not the end yet, and I shall not loose my hold until I have seen right through you. For you shan't go round thinking yourself better than I am. You want to fight me, do you? Very well, you shall, for life and death. A roll of drums in the distance. The garden is to be closed. Cursed is the ground for thy sake. Thorns also and thistles shall it bring forth to thee. The park keeper in uniform approaches. Keeper, courteously. Monsieur, Madame, the garden must be closed. Scene 2. Scene, the Crèmerie. The same evening. Madame Catherine at the counter making entries in a book. Adolphe and Henriette at a table. Adolphe, calmly, kindly. But for the 100th time I swear that I did not sneak away.
But on the contrary, I thought that you had given me the slip. That's all to convince you.
Henriette.
But why did you fool me by saying they weren't police? I didn't think they were myself. And I also said it to reassure you.
When you put it that way, I do believe you. And now, you must believe me too, when I reveal my innermost thoughts to you.
Go on.
But you mustn't make your usual retort about fancy and imagination.
You seem to have reason to fear I may.
I don't fear anything. But I know you and your skepticism. But you mustn't tell anybody about this. Promise me that.
I promise.
Well, you've got to take in, terrible though it is, that I have some proof that Maurice is guilty. Or at least reasonable grounds for suspicion.
What are you saying?
Listen, then you can be the judge. When Maurice left me in the bois, he said he was going to see Marion alone, while the mother was out. But now, afterwards, it has come out that he didn't meet the mother. So he was lying to me.
That's possible. And probably from the best of motives, but how can anyone conclude from that he committed murder?
Can't you see? Don't you understand?
Not in the least.
Because you don't want to. Well, then I have no choice but to inform on him. And then we will see if he can establish an alibi.
Henriette, let me tell you the whole grim truth. You and he are both on the brink of madness. You are in the grip of the demons of suspicion, and each of you is tearing the other to pieces with your sense of partial guilt. Let me see if my guess is right. Doesn't he also suspect you of murdering his child?
Yes, he's as insane as that.
You call his suspicions insane, but not your own?
Prove the contrary, or that I suspect him unjustly.
Yes, that is easily done. A further autopsy has proved that Marion died of a recognized disease, with a strange name I can't now remember.
Is that true?
The official report is in today's paper.
You can't go by that.
It may have been falsified, Henriette! Take care, you may go over the edge without realizing it. Above all, beware of making accusations which might land you in prison. Beware! He puts his hand on her head. Do you hate Maurice?
Beyond all bounds.
Where love turns to hatred. The love was already tainted.
Henriette, more calmly. What shall I do? Tell me, you who alone understand me.
But you don't want any sermons?
Have you nothing else to offer me?
Nothing. But they have helped me.
Preach away then.
Try to turn your hatred against yourself. Lance your own boil, because that is the seat of your evil.
Explain yourself.
First, break with Maurice, so you haven't a chance to cultivate your consciences together. Put an end to your artistic career, for which your only vocation was a desire for the gay bohemian life, as they call it. You see now how gay it is. Go home to your mother.
Never.
Somewhere else, then.
Adolphe, I presume you know I have guessed your secret and realized why you wouldn't accept that award?
I suppose you understood that half-hinted story?
Well, yes. But what did you do to gain peace?
As I intimated, I grew conscious of my guilt, repented, resolved to atone and live the life as a penitent.
How can you repent when, like me, you haven't any conscience? Is repentance a grace one gets like faith?
Everything is grace. But one doesn't get it, you know, unless one seeks for it.
Seek. Henriette is silent.
And don't let the time go by. If you do, you may harden and go to pieces among those past helping.
Henriette, after a further silence. Is conscience fear of punishment?
No. It is the hatred of our better natures for the misdeeds of our lower natures.
In that case, I have a conscience too.
Of course you have.
Tell me, Adolphe, are you what one means by religious?
Not in the least.
It's also extraordinary. Whatever is religion?
I just don't know. And I don't believe anyone can tell you. It seems to me sometimes that it's a punishment, because no one gets religion who hasn't a bad conscience.
Yes, it is a punishment. Now I know what I must do. Goodbye, Adolf.
Are you going away?
Yes, I am going away. To where you said. Goodbye, my friend. Goodbye, Madame Catherine.
Would you like me to come with you?
That wouldn't do. I must go alone as I came in here one spring day, here where I didn't belong, believing that there was something called freedom, which doesn't exist. Goodbye. Exit Henriette. Madame Catherine. I hope that lady never comes back. And I wish she had never come here at all.
Adolf. Who knows if she had not some mission to fulfill here? And in any case, she deserves pity. Boundless pity.
I don't deny that, for we all deserve it.
She actually has done less wrong than the rest of us.
Possible, but not probable.
You are always hard, Madame Catherine. Tell me something. Haven't you ever done anything wrong?
Madame Catherine, startled. Certainly, for I am a sinful human being. But anyone who has fallen through thin ice has the right and duty to tell others not to go that way, and without being considered hard or uncharitable. Didn't I say to Monsieur Maurice when the same lady came in here, take care, don't go there? But he went and so he fell in, like a naughty self-willed child. And whoever behaves that way gets a thrashing like a disobedient boy.
Adolf, well, hasn't he had his thrashing?
Yes, but it doesn't seem to have been enough, for he's still going around pitying himself.
That is a very popular interpretation of this complicated matter.
Bosh! You do nothing but philosophize about your vices, and while you're at it, the police come and solves a riddle. Now leave me in peace to do my accounts.
Adolf, here is Maurice.
Yes, God bless him. Maurice enters, very flushed, and sits down beside Adolf. Maurice,
good evening.
Madame Catherine nods and goes on, adding,
Adolf, how are things with you?
Maurice,
well, beginning to straighten out now.
Adolf hands him a newspaper, which he does not take.
So you've seen the paper?
No, I don't. I don't read the papers anymore. There's nothing in them but infamy.
Well, but you had better read this one before.
No, I won't. It's only lies. But now you shall hear a new view. Have you guessed who committed the murder?
No one.
Do you know where Henriette was during that quarter of an hour when the child was alone? Well, she was there. And it was she who did it.
You are crazy, man.
Not I. But Henriette is crazy, for she suspects me and has threatened to inform on me.
Henriette was just here now and used the same words as you.
For it has now been established by a second autopsy that the child died from a recognized disease, the name of which escapes me.
That's not true. That's what she said too. But the official report is there in the newspaper.
Official report? Then it's been falsified.
She said that too. You have the same mental sickness, the two of you. But I managed to make her see her lunacy.
Where has she gone?
She has gone far away, to begin a new life.
Did you go to the funeral?
Yes, I was there.
Well,
Jeanne was calm and had no word to say about you.
She is a good woman.
Then why did you throw her over?
I was crazy. Quite beyond myself, and then we drank champagne.
Do you understand now why she cried when you drank champagne?
Yes, I understand now. And because I do, I have already written and asked her to forgive me. Do you think she will forgive me?
I am sure she will.
She hasn't in her to hate anyone. Maurice, do you think she will really forgive? So that she will want to come back to me?
I don't know about that.
You have given such proof of your infidelity that she can hardly trust her fate to you any longer. Maurice, yes, but I can feel that her affection for me has not gone. I know she will come back.
How do you know that? What makes you believe it? Didn't you suspect her and that decent brother of hers of revenging themselves by setting the police on Henriette as a prostitute? Maurice, I don't think that any longer. Although Emile is a queer customer.
Madame Catherine, now look here. What are you saying about Monsieur Emile? Of course, he is only a working man, but if only everyone was correct as he is. There's no flaw in him, and he is understanding and tact. Enter Emile. Emile. Monsieur Gerard.
Maurice. Here I am. I have something private to say to you. Please say it. We are all friends here. The Abbe enters and seats himself. Emile glances at him. Emile. Perhaps after all it makes no difference. The Abbe is a friend too, although he and I hold different opinions. You know who I am, Monsieur Gerard. My sister has only asked me to give you this package as an answer to your letter. Maurice takes the package and opens it. Now I only have to add, as I am, as it were, my sister's guardian, that on her behalf and on my own, I acknowledge you, Monsieur Gerard, free of all obligations now that the natural bond between you no longer exists. Maurice, but you must have a grudge against me. I don't see why. On the other hand, I should like to have a declaration from you, Monsieur Gerard, here in the presence of your friends, that you don't think me or my sister so low that we could have put police on Mademoiselle Henriette. Maurice, I wish to take back what I said and offer you my apologies, if you will accept them. They are accepted. I wish you all a good evening. All. Good evening. Exit Emile. The tie and the gloves which Jeanne gave me for the opening night of my play, and which I let Henriette throw into the fireplace. Who snatched them back? Everything is dug up. Everything repeats itself. When she gave them to me in the cemetery, she said I was to look fine and handsome, so that the others would like me too. She stayed at home herself. This hurt her too deeply, and well it might. I should not be in the company of decent people. Oh, have I done this? Scoffed at a gift from a kind heart, scorned a sacrifice to my own good. This I threw away for a laurel wreath, which is lying on the rubbish heap, and a bust which should stand in the pillory. Monsieur l'Abbe, now I put myself in your hands. Say the word I need. Abbe, do you mean me to contradict your self-accusations and inform you that you have done nothing wrong? Say the right word. With your permission, then, I must say that I have found your behavior as abominable as you have found it yourself. What shall I do? What shall I do to get free of all this? You know as well as I do. No. I only know that I am lost, that my life is ruined, my career closed, my reputation in the world lost forever. And so you are looking for a new existence in another, better world, in which you are beginning to believe? That is so. You've been living for the flesh, and now you wish to live for the spirit. Are you sure, then, that this world no longer holds any attractions for you? None. Honor an illusion. Gold, dry leaves. Women, intoxications. Let me hide behind your consecrated walls and forget this appalling dream, which has taken 2 days and lasted 2 eternities. Abbe. Very well. But this is not the place to go into the matter more closely. Let us arrange to meet in Saint-Germain this evening at 9 o'clock. I am going, as it happens, to preach in the penitentiaries of Saint-Lazare, and that can be your first step on the hard road of penance. Penance? Yes. Do you not wish? Yes. Yes. Abbe, after that we will have a vigil from midnight until 2 o'clock. That will be good. Give me your hand, so that you will not look back. Maurice, rising and giving him his hand. Here is my hand with all my heart. The serving girl enters from the kitchen. Girl. There's a telephone call from Monsieur Maurice. Who from?
From the theater.
Maurice tries to break away from the Abba, but he holds him fast. Abba, to the girl. Ask what it is about.
Girl. Well, they want to know if Monsieur Maurice will be at the performance tonight.
Abba, to Maurice, who is still trying to get free. No, I will not let go. Maurice, to the girl. What performance is it? Adolphe. Why don't you read the paper?
Madame Catherine and Abba. He hasn't read the paper.
Maurice. It's all lies and slander. To the girl. Tell them at the theater that I am engaged tonight. I'm going to church. The girl goes out to the kitchen. Adolphe. As you won't read the paper, I'd better tell you that the theater is putting on your play again, now that you are exonerated. And your literary friends have arranged to pay a tribute to you tonight, on the stage with the curtain up. A tribute to your uncontested talent. Maurice. It's not true. All. It is true. Maurice, after a silence. I don't deserve this. Abba. Good. Adolphe. And there's more still, Maurice. Maurice, hiding his face with his hands. More? Madame Catherine. 100,000 francs. You see how they have come back to you? And the villa outside the city. Everything is coming back except Mademoiselle Henriette. Abba, smiling. You should take it all a little more seriously, Madame Catherine. Madame Catherine. No, but you see, I can't. I can't keep serious any longer. She puts her handkerchief up to her face and bursts out laughing. Adolphe. Well, Maurice. It's 8 o'clock at the theater. Abba. But it's 9 o'clock at the church. Adolphe. Maurice. Monsieur Maurice, we must hear the end now. Maurice puts his head in his arms on the table. Adolphe. Free him, Monsieur l'Abbe. Abba. It is not for me to set free or to bind. He must do that himself. Maurice, rising. Very well. I shall go with the Abba. Abba. No, my young friend. I have nothing to give you. Nothing but a scolding which you can give yourself. And you have a responsibility to yourself and your good reputation. That you have come through this so quickly is to me a sign that you suffered your punishment as intensely as if it had lasted an eternity. And when Providence has granted you absolution, there was nothing for me to add. Why was I punished so severely when I am guiltless? Severely? Only 2 days. And guiltless you were not, for we are responsible for our thoughts, our words and our desires. You murdered in your mind when you wished the life out of your child. Maurice, you are right. But my decision is made. Tonight I will meet you at the church and have a reckoning with myself about all this. But tomorrow I shall go to the theater. A good solution, Monsieur Maurice. Yes, that's the solution. Whew! Abba, yes, that's it. Curtain. And that is the end of Strindberg's Crime and Crime, a comedy in 4 acts, written in 1899. I find it funny how, even though it's labeled as a comedy, this is very tragic in nature, and or at least very somber in nature. And not so much in the way of, his other plays, like Miss Julie or The Father or anything like that, where it's much more somber and thinking about things philosophically. But this one's more just kind of oh, let's put a tragic situation in a comedic setting. And so even though it's supposed to be a comedy, it's still rather tragic in its construction. And maybe that was just Strindberg as a person, but who knows? Anyways, I hope you liked it. I hope you consider following me on every other platform that I'm currently on. I want to bring special attention to my Patreon today. And like PBS, I would like to say I am sponsored by viewers like you, so if you could hit bell notifications, if you could follow me or support me on Patreon, I think that's the right way of saying it, I'd very much appreciate it. I only have a few more episodes to record for this season, and I'm very happy about it. So please consider helping out in any way you possibly can, because I love doing this, and I want to know that you guys love it too, so. As always, you can suggest plays for me to read or send in your own plays to bemuseartsinc@gmail.com. That's BEMUSEARTSINC@gmail.com. And I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. And I hope to have you back in Brendan Moyer's Playwright Corner. Thank you.